Two.
Amateur.
Oh yeah, you got it.
All right, hop day everybody. House to Home is on location and we are downtown in Gina. I have my dear friends Gina and Liz, and we are going on first name basis because we are talking about property and something that's very, very important to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so Jace, we wanted to bring up recently, Liz and I handle foreclosure properties for Freddie Mac. We list these properties and these are foreclosed homes. And we've been running into an issue, you know, of course these homes are, typically they're priced better than your average listing on the market because they're in very poor condition, some in horrible condition. And as Freddie Mac listing agents, what we're tasked to do is basically, and it's not consistent, but basically we're tasked to clean out the house and then put it on the market without repairs. And so a lot of first-time home buyers come to us wanting to purchase these homes because of course they're priced really well. And then we have to explain to them, you know, what happens is you put in the offer, we submit it to the seller, and then when you note down that it's financed, that you're actually getting a bank loan, Freddie Mac won't accept that offer because they know the properties can't be financed.
Yeah, it can be financed because the condition. Normally when the bank finances property, it's based on habitable conditions. And if it isn't habitable, let's say for example there's termites throughout. We had the situation where there are termites throughout the house. Those issues have to be repaired, or if there's a structural crack, those issues have to be repaired and will be subject to the repairs before the bank will loan. And if it's not repaired, the only way they could purchase that property would be a cash sale. So we've had buyers that come up and say, hey, I want to buy it, I'll do the repairs, and then we can proceed with the bank loan. The problem was on the foreclosure, the owner of the property on the other side will not allow taking possession of the property in order to do the repairs. So it's a little different. If it's an individual owner, for example, like yourself, you can say, okay, not a problem, let's do this. But the process that Gina and I have to go through, there's strict guidelines that we have to follow.
Now, despite this being very, very tricky, Gina, it still sounds like, and you know, granted, you'll have to pay cash, and it's a major fixer-upper project. It sounds like it still sounds like
some are major, some aren't
good
major.
condition.
This still sounds like a good business opportunity, though, if you would like to, you know, like make repairs in it, because the value of the property can only go up, I'm assuming.
Yes, and that's actually the truth. That's what happens. It becomes a good business opportunity. But most first-time home buyers, they're not looking for business opportunities. They're looking to get into an affordable, reasonably priced home. And anyone who and anyone who wants to take advantage of this business opportunity, they're picking up these houses that need work, and they're putting in the repairs. They're investing more capital, so they acquire the property. They put in more capital for all the repairs. But it's a business opportunity. They're not going to put it back on the market thinking, I would like to sell this house at a fair and reasonable rate. They're trying to make money.
Okay, here's a question I have now, Liz. Because the banks may or may not be all in as far as supporting and, you know, giving financing. If I pay cash for one of these houses and say that's the very first house I owned, if I was to go back to the bank later and say I would like to get a loan for a home, do I still qualify for first-time homeowner benefits because this is the first home loan I get?
See, the difference at that point, you'd have to do the repairs and then you would do an equity loan. Because once you, or refinance it, you'd have to do all the repairs. Let's say, for example, you bought it at $150,000. It required a lot of repairs. You put it in. The appraisal value at that point, let's say, is much higher. The bank will loan you based on the current appraisal value. So 75%, for example, of what that current value is. So your value has gone up because of your repairs. You want to make sure you crunch your numbers to make sure your value of your property, once the repairs are in place, are higher so that you could do a refi. And that's one way to recover.
And how often does this happen on Guam?
So that scenario that you just put on the table, that you purchased the property with cash and then you went to the bank to refinance it, it does happen, but normally, well, rarely, because somebody who's got cash doesn't need to worry about going into the bank to get a first-time home loan. They may want to refinance the house, as Liz described, to get their money back, but they don't need to worry about getting a first-time home buyer loan program. You already paid for the house, so now you're just refinancing so you can pull your money out. And yes, it occurs, most especially with investors, because what they've done is they've taken their cash, they've bought the property, and maybe they didn't want to flip it. Okay, they weren't thinking of flipping the houses. What they're trying to do is just buy the house and rent it out so they can get income from that cash that they had. And so that's where the refinancing comes into play.
And final topic before we wrap up, just so people know, what are conditions where a home would be foreclosed upon?
If the bank would foreclose on a piece of property, it's basically because the current owner has not paid their monthly mortgage. So of course there's a window of time. And
severely in default.
Yes, and then of course it goes into litigation. The attorneys would try to collect on it, and then at that point, if not, then it goes into the foreclosure process.
So this could also be like maybe the property owner dies, maybe a situation of a divorce, and they just they can't figure it out.
But normally in a divorce situation, the court will order the property to be sold, hopefully before they go into the stage of foreclosure. So we've had situations where we've represented the couple in selling the property so that they could pay off the mortgage and go their separate ways.
And you know, in our situation, Jason, we don't typically learn about the owner because we come into the picture after the foreclosure has taken place, after the attorneys have served all the notices, and the title has already been passed on to the agency that we do the work for.
We work with.
So we don't typically get to deal with owners. In fact, we don't want to be part of that process.
Very, very interesting. Your job descriptions just get longer and longer every week when we talk to you here. So thank you very much once again. Always interesting. All right, stay tuned, everybody. We are back right after this.
Was it longer than 6 minutes?
A little bit,
Yeah,
It was like-
but